Welcome to Ven Farm, home of Colin Tizzard, who at the end of the season will be handing over the reins to his son Joe. And we're here today to speak to Joe about the horses and their plans for the Aintree Festival, where they have two very live chances for the Grand National. Aintree, around the corner, a great festival that the Tizzards have had a lot of success with. I think about Aintree Hurdle with Thistlecrap. Is it a place that you have a special place in the heart for?
Oh, we've had a lot of fun up there, that's for certain.
There's fun everywhere.
Yeah, but you know, when we first started going, it was more, you know, we've never been afraid to run our horses, you know, and we'd always save a bit of petrol through the season for the spring festivals, you know. So we'd miss a race maybe a bit earlier on so that we could go Cheltenham, Aintree, and then see where we are with Punchestown. So and we kind of sell that to the owners. The owners are up for it, you know. They're going to go and stay at Cheltenham, and we have a picnic at the boot of the car every day. We all stay in the same hotel at Aintree, and we go out Thursday and Friday night together, and we book a big restaurant, and we go out as a gang of 30 of us, and it's great fun. And we try and run our best horses there for the prize money and things as well. So the winners have sort of snowballed off of the fact that we're just going to support the festivals anyway.
Yeah.
And then we've had so much fun. Thistlecrap won his novice up there. Q-Card won the bowl. Ultra Gold won 2 Tophams. That was good fun with John Romans and Garth and Terry. And Harry Cobden was only young then.
Yeah.
We partied and celebrated it as well. You know, we've been known to be the last one to leave the tented music area at the end of the night. But that's with 25 owners in tow. But that's just how we do it. And so Aintree has been good to us. But you know, if it wasn't Aintree, we'd still be targeting, because there's a lot of prize money. They're big races, they're graded races, and we're going to have a crack at them. So
you've never been the kind of team that have ever been scared of running them at the big festivals, going from Cheltenham to Aintree. The time period is not much in between, but your horses, there are a good few of them, a couple have been freshened up, but a good few of them are going to bounce from one to the other.
Yeah, last year, I think because the horses weren't 100%, they ran well at Cheltenham, and then a couple of them ran flat at Aintree. But everybody was open-minded about that, and was, you know, it was so, they ran so poorly, they pulled up they just looked flat as a pancake. But other years, you know, they've managed to handle it, to bounce on. Not necessarily the real young horses, but the older horses. You know, you don't have to do a great deal in between, as long as they come out of Cheltenham all right, and then you can freshen them up in a couple of weeks. They don't one pipe opener and you're there. Well, let's talk about Fiddlerontheroof, because he is a horse that you've kept fresh. But I want to go back to the beginning a bit with him, because £200,000 buy, it wasn't cheap, but as a younger horse, he looked all speed, and he won over 2 miles, and he was a very good horse as a novice. The ideas of things like a Grand National then, was that ever in your mind? Not then. I don't know if he was as fast as he made out. He won a Tolworth, but because he was a year older than the rest, and it was heavy ground, and he had like a really good cruising speed, but he was never like a complete speedy. He was always going to step up and trip as we went through, but we just kind of didn't need to until the right time. You know, we bought him at Aintree. Brendan Bashford actually he'd been on the phone to me for a fortnight saying, "I've got a really nice horse, you need to look at it." And it was the first or second horse we bought publicly with Ross Doyle. He'd already sent us Lostintranslation, but the first one we went to the sales and we knocked it down to Tizzard Doyle. So that was like cementing that relationship with him buying our horses as well. And we always knew he was going to get further. Not saying like ultimately a Grand National, but we thought that as he stepped up through the novice rank, we would slowly step him up and trip over a fence. Yeah. And that's what he's done basically. So he was obviously pretty forward in his novice days. What went wrong last year? Was he a victim of the sort of the bugs and the various issues? Well, possibly, but he was probably our most consistent horse last year. He took on the best. You know, he was second against good horses. You know, everything that beat him was a good horse. You know, a festival horse. So he didn't do a great deal wrong. He just was coming up against one. He's been a bit guilty of that all of his life, but not for any particular reason. He just kept bumping into one.
And I saw you had wind surgery with him. He's one that did.
Yeah, tweaked his wind. Yeah, mid-season.
Yeah, tongue-tied thing. I just think compared to what this season, where he's come to, and that second in the Ladbrokes Trophy, was that always a plan after the back end of last year? You saying keep bumping into one, let's go make the most of his handicap mark, let's go explore that.
Well, he was a graded novice basically, not quite getting his head in front, but he was second in an RSA, and he was ticked all the boxes for a Ladbrokes Trophy. You know, second season chaser, rate 150 I think he was then, and just ticked a lot of boxes. And then we'd won the Colin Parker, we'd lost, so it just worked out timing wise. It was a perfect prep for him, because he'd only won the one novice chase. He'd only won at Exeter. The rest of the time he was second, so just seemed an obvious target. And you look back and, you know, he was unlucky 4 out, nearly just had the sidestep remastered when he fell, and probably just cost him a bit of momentum when he was there, and then stayed all the way through the line.
So when did you have a little debrief and think, right, we can target this horse at certain things now, you show that he can stay? When did you start plotting the Grand National plan? Off
of the back of the Ladbrokes, straight away. And then we said, well, we didn't want to run him in the King George, so we just said, right, let's wait until the weights are out for the National, and if we're going to do it, then we'll do it well. So like there's Richard, Paul and Nick involved, and they've all got opinions, but it's Richard and I that talk about the sort of the race planning of it, and we said let's work back when we're on at Ascot, which the weights had come out on the Tuesday.
Yeah.
And then we'll go. I think he's £2 well in the National. It's nothing, is it?
Yeah.
So he's off 155. They actually did us a favour. Without running over Christmas, he dropped £4. Really? Stood in his box, which never normally happens. So
is that because of the form of the Ladbrokes hasn't been particularly eye-catching?
No, exactly that. So and when he went up £9 for getting beaten half a length, we were in touch with the handicapper. I said to Richard, I said, do you ring him? I said, you're saying things down the phone to me. I said, that's what it's for. So he had and he'll say himself, he had a lovely conversation with the handicapper, and he explained his views and vice versa. And he said, well, if Cloudy Glen doesn't run so well, I'll drop you back a bit. And he was true to his word. So I don't think that necessarily makes us a really well handicapped horse. I think we've got a horse that's very competitive off his mark and ticks a lot of boxes for it. And
the run last time, what were your thoughts coming out of that?
After the race was actually fine. I didn't enjoy watching the race for whatever reason. He didn't travel or jump as well as he can. You know, he sat in a bit of a pocket behind 3 or 4, and for the first 2 miles, it wasn't a nice watch. And then suddenly his class brought him through. Then they came to win his race at the last, and he just got nabbed halfway at the run-in. But the end result and the end performance was fine, but the mid-race watch I wasn't very happy with.
No, and obviously you can tell quite quickly. So then Grand National, completely different proposition. Further, he needs to get obstacles he's not tried before. In your mind, knowing the Grand National as a rider and having seen horses go on that you've trained to run in it, do you think he has the capabilities that is required to?
I think he is generally a very good jumper. He's got a lovely way of racing. Is that he doesn't waste any energy. You know, he just sits on the bridle, and I think you know, Brendan can ride him anywhere he wants, so that he can just basically he's got a little bit of class where if he needs to put him somewhere he can. And then the rest of it is, you know, you need a bit of luck in any race, especially the Grand National. Yeah. But he's a good solid jumper, and you know, he stayed well in the Ladbrokes Trophy. He stayed well at Ascot, so I've got no worries about that. And like I said, the way he runs, he just saves a bit. So you know, it's a sort of horse that, if everything goes to plan, I think he'll be bang there 2 out. Whether he's good enough, whether there's something better than him, who knows? But if he runs his race, then I think he'll be there 2 out.
And you've kept him fresh and left Cheltenham out of the way on purpose. Is that because you felt he's better freshened up with a bit of a break?
No, just didn't want. If the only race we were tempted to run him in was the Gold Cup.
Yeah.
Is a hard race in the Gold Cup. I did prep for a Grand National. We didn't as a group of people talking about it. We didn't think so. So we skipped it. So
yeah.
Whether that's right or wrong, you know, when I over Christmas, Dad said, when are we going to run Fiddler again? And I told him the plan. He was like, oh, that's a good idea. And then the week before Cheltenham, he was like, well, we'll run him in the Gold Cup with me. But yeah, so
he thinks it is a good prep into
he
the national,
I don't
does he?
think he really knows, but I think he's just trying to wind me up at the top of the gallops. But he's quite keen on having this horse in the Grand National. Like, it makes no difference.
In his name.
Still in his name, yeah. So whether it proves to be the right or wrong thing. What the horse is easy to get ready for a race, relatively easy. You know, it proves after a long layoff from the Ladbrokes to Ascot, he didn't want for fitness that day. So so we know how to prep. He doesn't need a prep run.
Yeah. And the owners, obviously, these colours are getting more and more familiar in racing now, and there's a nice connection to Aintree, isn't there? Because one of the owners has got is originally a Scouse, is that right? So that will mean a lot to them. So I say the enthusiasm, the hype, and the buzz around it in the lead up is quite exciting for them.
Yeah. So Nick Burley, who's in with Richard O'Dwyer and Paul Taylor, Richard and Paul Lost in Translation, and quite a few others with us, and they Nick's involved in Fiddler as well, and you know, Nick's reasonably new to owning racehorses, and but he said to me, we were just chatting at the races one day, and he said, like, I know that everything's about a Gold Cup, and like, I hold the Gold Cup as the pinnacle. He said, I'm a Liverpool boy, you know, it's about the Grand National for me. He said, so if, he said, I want to skip the Gold Cup and go there fresh and have every chance we can in the Grand National.
Yeah.
So whether we ever get home, if he manages to run a big race, whether we ever get home from there, I don't know.
Joe, Lost in Translation, he's been such a brilliant horse. He's such a eye catcher as well in the gallops today. He's a big horse. Physically, he looks like a horse that will should be staying at that distance of 4 mile plus, but he's had a in and out, up and down, probably quite a frustrating few years for you, but you must have been pleased by the way he ran in his first handicap last time at Cheltenham.
Yeah, I mean, he's been taking on the best, and he's a Grade 1 winner. He led over the last or upsides at the last in the Gold Cup and finished third. He's a very talented horse. Last year was a job to get him round, you know, he bled a couple of times, and it just didn't really work for him. So he's a class horse that's dropping back, and you always, like, in these handicaps, you need a bit of class. You know, we haven't finished with Lost in Translation. When he came back in the autumn, as he's got older, he's got quite ground dependent. You know, he wants a bit of decent ground. He ran really well at Ascot in the autumn, and then the King George, who's flopped in that a couple of times now, and you know, it's a funny race this year. Yeah. So you can sort of put a line through that. His third run at Ascot was, we shouldn't have run him. We talked about it earlier in the day. We were stood in the pack. I was like, Grace has gone soft, and they said, well, Brendan will look after him, and he pulled up. He never went a yard on the soft ground, so he wants a bit of decent ground. He ran in the Ultima. He actually ran all right. He just got into a little bit of a pocket right in 5th or 6th in a horrible place. You know, he didn't get to see very much. He didn't jump as well as he can, and but still galloped through the line. So he seems bouncing at home. You know, if he gets into a rhythm over the big fences, I mean, he's got a lot of scope. He can jump like a stag. If he got into a rhythm, then he's a classy horse on his day. I don't think there's as much between them as the betting has it, but there's a bit of a soft spot with Lost, you know, because he's you know, Fiddler's coming to sort of up through to replace him, but Lost has been a good chap to us. You know, he's won a couple of Grade 1s, and he was the first horse that Richard and Paul owned in us, and he runs in their colours, and there's like a backstory to that. So he's got a bit of I've got a bit of a soft spot for him. So I'd love to see him. I'd love to see him run a big race in it. I think if he gets into a rhythm, I think he could be just nice and handy up there in the front. And you know, sometimes you see these horses that stand off and wing the fences and just get into a good rhythm and enjoy themselves.
Well, I thought between him and Fiddler, he's the style of the way he runs. He likes to be, as I was asking you earlier, why is he not up on the front? He likes to be quite positive, quite confident in his style, but he also jumps. I mean, his electric jumping in the Betfair Chase when he won it, that's what stood him apart, and that never goes away, does it? No,
that's a bit of class and a bit of scope, but you know, he's well, you see yourself until you see him in the flesh, like he's a big boy. He's all horse. You know, I think he'll give somebody a really good ride in it. So. Well, that's going to be my next question, because I'd imagine Brendan might be on Fiddler. So, is there plans being made for Lost in Translation? Yeah. So it looks like Harry Cobden's going to be available for him now. You know, Harry's been a friend of our families for forever, like since he was this high, and you know, he's ridden plenty of winners for the yard, and he's when he's available, he's he's not our go-to jockey. When he's available, then we use him as much as we can. So we've got two real live chances heading into the Grand National, and as we just touched on, it will be Dad's name in there, Colin Tizzard, but that for him was just the race that not had a huge amount of runners, I've noticed over the years. He's never really targeted the National, just not had the right horse, or is it just a race that's sort of passed you guys by a little bit? Well, yeah, just not had the right horse really. You know, we've had a few, but just not the right ones. Not that sort of middle ground horse. And you as a jockey got some good memories of riding in it, some better days and good days. What have the highlights and the lowlights been in what can be, as you say, all about a bit of luck? Yeah, I've had a lot of rides over the fences. I think I rode in 13 Grand Nationals. Not a great results in the National Fifth. I think was my best on Montifaux. He gave me a great spin round. But it's like when I walked the course. Well, I rode in Topham's as well, the Fox Hunters, and I won winner over the fences in an amateur race on what is now the Sefton on With Impunity. But, you know, I walked Fred round it when he was like 12, and I was like, well, yeah, I fell at this one. Fell at that one twice, fallen at that one. But, you know, the National's still the National. You know, it's still that buzz at Aintree. We walk the course on a Saturday morning, and whoever wants to walk it with us walks it. And you say, oh, right, well, they're not as big as they were in my day, but they're still a big track, you know, and it's still, you know, it's still a really competitive race, and it's still the Grand National, so we like being part of it. What would it mean to win the Grand National for his last couple of weeks in training with you guys in the team, with either Fiddler or Lost? It would be incredible. You know, everybody tells me how special it would be for Dad. I look at it slightly different because it's been this big team thing, and you know, and I don't think he would go and mop up all the plaudits for it because he knows how much hard work's gone on. But a National for the yard, full stop, would be incredible. You know, it's a huge race, huge money, huge reputation, and you know, you can just imagine that. Imagine the pressure I'm going to be under if Colin Tizzard has won the Gold Cup and the National. Yeah. So, it will be fantastic if we can go and run really well in it.